Well, hello, and welcome to another lesson of the Focus on DatoCMS course. I am Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator. As always, get a hold of me right there, Marcelo at headlesscreator.com. Send me questions, comments, ideas, whatever you like. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Today, my special guest presenter is back actually for a second lesson. He is Rodrigo Barona. He's an engineering and design lead at Wonderman Thompson, and he's going to show us today how to use DatoCMS and Next.js to create a localized blog. So I'm not going to tell you anything else about him because I'm actually going to go ahead and bring him in. Rodrigo, welcome.
Hi, how is it going?
Great.
Nice
How
to
are
meet
you?
Yeah, really fine, really great. I have a good week near holidays, and it's going well.
I know it's unbelievable near the hot. Now you're back here for a second one. You did another lesson for us before,
Yeah,
right?
was a pleasure, and really love to share the knowledge that we are working on in the agency with all of you guys.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, and you can check it out on the Focus on Data CMS. Now I'm going to give everybody a warning. First of all, Rodrigo's having a little bit of some issues with the internet over there. Where are you located, Rodrigo?
Yeah, I'm located in Lisbon, in Portugal, and normally we have a great internet, but right now it's not going
It's
really
the
well.
internet gods, man. It happens
Yeah.
to us too. I mean, yesterday I had issues, so it happens all over the world. So if he freezes, don't worry about it. The screen still goes. His audio, you'll still be able to hear him, but just keep that in mind that there's a little bit of internet issue. Anyway, so today you're going to go into Next.js, DatoCMS, and we're going to create a localized blog. But before we get started, I mean, people already learned some about you from the previous, so I'm not going to ask you all your technical background again since we already know. But
Yeah.
everybody knows I'm a huge movie fan. What's your favorite movie? I got to know. I don't know what your favorite movie is.
I have a bunch of them, but I think one of my first fan movies I like is The Goonies. Do you remember The Goonies?
Of course, from the 80s, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
you're looking at an 80s guy right here, man.
I really love this film. I watched it a lot of times, and I think it was the first scary movie for kids, and I really like it, and I have to put it for my kids again. Uh,
I love
it's
it. Yeah, you got to introduce your kids to it. Okay, so you said you have many favorite movies. That was one of them. Give me one more and then we'll jump into the lesson here because people don't come here for movies, but I got to know. What's another one you like?
Now I have the name in Spanish. It's El Último Mohicano. You know
El último what?
Mohicano.
No.
I know what is the name in English. Sorry about that.
Is it a US
Yeah,
film or is
yeah,
it
yeah. It's
a?
a usual film. Yeah. Sorry about that. I don't
That's
know, but
okay.
I watch lots of times. It's about wow. I forget the name. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I
No
don't
worries
remember
about
before.
it.
Yeah,
We'll research it. Now you're originally from Spain, right? If I'm not
yeah,
mistaken. Yep.
yeah. I'm from Spain and living in Lisbon, Portugal for the last 12 years.
Got it. Great. Okay, so I'm going to end this and we're going to jump in with I watched two shows on Netflix which I loved. One of them is a film called Dos, which I
Yeah.
highly recommend from Spain.
Okay.
The other one is a show called Jaguar,
I
which
don't
is
know.
a really great one. They're both from Spain, all Spanish actors, Spanish production. I highly
Okay,
recommend it.
I have to check.
Put it on your list.
Yeah, I have three kids, and it's
Oh,
not
no,
easy
no,
to
no,
have
they're not
time.
for kids.
No. Only
Oh,
to have time to see
oh, yeah,
see
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. These are not kid movies.
No, really.
Alrighty. All right, Rodrigo, we see your screen. Everybody, if you have questions, put them in the comments chat area. I will ask Rodrigo. Rodrigo, I will jump in with some questions.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, everybody, like I said, he's having a little bit of an issue with internet, so his video may freeze once in a while, but the screen share and the audio seems to be working fine. Rodrigo, it's all yours.
Okay, it's a pleasure to share it. Okay, we are talking today in a blog like a sample for multilingual content. For us in Europe is really important because we have a bunch of languages like this example. We have English, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, French, whatever. Okay, yeah, we never make a website for only one language. Normally we make it for Portuguese and English, or Portuguese, Spanish, English, French, whatever. Okay, then having the opportunity to translate in the same content in different languages is really, really important. In today's example, we are working with 4 main languages. And then, okay, we have a normal blog. We have a hero post with some title, category, and a description. And then we have a bunch of other posts, different areas, or so on. And then if we visit, we can change languages. For example, Italian, then we have the content in Italian, or Portuguese, and then we have all the content in Portuguese, and the same for Spanish. And if we visit one of the posts, we have the content in Spanish, the categories, the date, and all the content, and so on. Okay, this is basically the goal for today, to see what is going on, how it's working, and so on. Then if we move to the DatoCMS part, okay, the DatoCMS is structured in categories, are the categories of the post. Then we have authors, that are the people that is writing the post. Then you have the post itself, that is the content, and some pages for secondary information, like about us or contact us. Okay. One of the things that we have in Data is we can define different languages for every field. Then, for example, here in DataCMS, we've defined the 4 languages. We can add more if you want in the settings area. We can define all the languages we needed in the settings. Here we can add more languages, Chinese, Russian, whatever. Okay, you have a lot of them, and you have all the variations. For example, Spanish from Mexico, from Argentina, whatever. You can add specific languages. Okay, Argentina, whatever.
And as you're showing that, I just want to remind folks that we have an entire lesson on how to enable localization, which you're not going to go into all the details
Yeah, of
here.
course.
But there's an entire lesson that covers about 30 minutes of worth of content that it's called enabling and localizing content in DatoCMS. So look it up in the Focus on DatoCMS course.
Yeah, perfect. It's exactly that. I know that you have the course, and I only want to explain what's going on. Coming back to the categories, in every content type, we can create and define different fields. And every field we can define if it's multilingual or not. In this case, the name of the category is multilingual. We translate it for every language. And the description is multilingual too. Okay. Then we have the authors. And the authors basically are name, picture, and biography. For that case, normally the name you don't translate it because is a proper name for every language, and the image is the same. But the biography you can make it multilingual. Okay. In this case, the locales are not mandatory. Then the people can add more languages, more locales if they need it. If they're not, we have the English default and the Spanish version in this example. And the end and the most important part are the posts. The posts, we have a bunch of them, and then we create the content modeling based on title for the article. Then we link it to the author. The title is multilingual, okay, and the content is multilingual too. And then we have image to represent the post, and a little text for excerpt, and the excerpt is again multilingual. And then this post is related to a specific category that we saw here in categories. We have Discover, for example, and Discover is multilingual, Discover in every language. And then a date and a slug. For SEO reasons, normally we make the slug multilingual too. Then Italian has their own slug, Portuguese, and Spanish. Okay. And basically, this is the main structure. For this example, we are assuming that this author make all the translations. Okay. But if you want to say, okay, I have a bunch of different authors, and every author is for every language, you can make this author multilingual too, and then choose in every language a specific author. Okay.
And you brought up a good point there, because real quick on that, you may want to say when you're setting up your localization, like for example, author, you may say, look, we're going to have an author for each locale. So that means you don't really need to have the bio translated, because if you're going to have an author for, let's say, Spanish,
Yeah.
then that'll be already it'll be a separate author that has in Spanish. So it really depends on when you're looking at your content model, where do you want to localize it, and what's it, do you want to just translate, or do you want to have different authors, right? And you localize it in different fields depending on that.
Exactly. I have a project that is like exactly way that I have some authors in English version. They have the bio only in English, and then when we move to Spanish, they have another authors from Spain with the
Right.
bio and so
And
on.
that's just in Spanish, right? Exactly.
Yeah. And it's, there are two different walls. There are two different separate areas.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, but that is the idea. The idea is to, one of the main things that I like a lot in DatoCMS is the option to choose in every field if you want to be translated or not. And then when you define it here in the content type, you come here and say, okay, for the author, I want to be localized or not. Okay, and then you make it localized. This field will be different for every language. Now we can do that, no problem with that. And you can do it for the text, for the image, for everything. Okay, sometimes, for example, you have content that we can go here. Imagine that I have this text and is written in Spanish, and I want to show another image that is written in English. Then I can choose different images for different languages.
And there's a real quick question, since you're here already. It's from Primo's Rome. How to localize URLs for blog posts? I'm assuming you just have a slug field, and you turn on localization for that field, right?
It's like I said here in the bottom of the post, I have the slug.
Right.
Okay, and the slug right now is pulling the content from the title itself. If I create the title in Italian, auto create the slug.
It'll be there. Perfect.
Okay, and then in the Next.js, we filter the slug too about for every locale, and then create it. That the situation, for example, I am in the Spanish version, I click solo estamos viviendo un mundo, and then this is the slug, Spanish slug. But if I go to the Italian, the same post, go here, and I have the slug in Italian. And in this particular example, I am creating the URL, creating the locale, category, and slug post. And the category is translated itself too. Then this is the category for Italian, but if I go, I don't know, to Spanish, I don't know, Portuguese, okay. Viaggiano in família, estamos apenas vendo. Again, PT, viaggiano in família, estamos vendo.
Right.
Okay.
So everything.
This helps. This helps a lot to share and SEO performance and so on. Because otherwise, the URL is the same, only change the locale, and it's not what the client wants normally. And makes sense to localize everything. Okay, 4 pages is basically the same. We have some pages, then we have the title that is translated in different languages, and then the content is again translated. The image stays the same, and the excerpt translate. And the slug again is multilingual. The slug is really important and really hard to do it right, but we work a lot to have all the slug working properly in every language, in every situation. Now, if anyhow has any questions about the front end of the data modeling?
No, right. That
Otherwise,
covers it pretty good. Yep.
okay, then we can move to the code if you want. Okay, I have here the normal Next.js project with the pages, libs for the APIs and the components, and then a bunch of configuration. Here for this particular situation, it's important the next config. Okay, because in the configuration we define how many locales we have. In that example, it's pulling the same locales that we have in DatoCMS, and then define the specific default locale. This default, it means that when I visiting the root version, sorry, it's always moving to Spanish because I am Spanish in the browser, but the root version, this is the default language. If I want to put the default language in Spanish or whatever, I have to come here and say, okay, the default language is Spanish or Italy or Portuguese, whatever. Okay, that is the first configuration we have to do. And then, for example, here in the pages, we have the index, that is the home page. Then we have the category page, and then we have pages, category, and posts. Okay, this structure is dynamic. It's like we show here between the category Slack and then post Slack. This is category Slack and this is post Slack. It's a little bit tricky, but it's worth it to do it, because then we can create the Slack. And for the family travel, for example, category, we make the same. We put here, go to the family travel, and then we have family travel description and whatever we want. We can have the posts or images or tags or whatever. It's only an example. And this is the situation. Okay, I can go a little bit quick in the code. Okay, but basically we are pulling the locales for all the ports and all the categories. And then we have here the magic. I can go a little bit deeper in a second, how we can create the Slack for the ports and the Slack for the category for all these two. And then we are pulling all the information from the post: SEO, title, Slack, content, date, image, author, category itself. More posts. This is another query to create. Let me show it. To create this part, there are more posts. Okay. And then this is for the preview. And this is the layout of the page. You have the head, the container, the page, the language bar itself, that is this language bar. Okay, to switch different languages. And the post head, post body, and section.
And real quick here, the last lesson you did was a fantastic one, which goes deep into this part, which is creating a landing page using the atomic design system.
Yeah.
So definitely check that out, because that isn't the focus on DatoCMS course, and you will learn how to do this, what he's showing you here. That's a
Exactly.
really good lesson. Yeah.
The idea of the atomic design is to be as simple as possible for every item or every atom, and then reuse it a lot of times.
Right. So go check that lesson out. Just wanted to make sure people knew all that.
Yeah, perfect. For example, for that example, I can show you one good thing, that is, for example, the date. Okay, the date that is really tricky in a lot of localization posts or works on projects. Then if we go to post head, we have all the structure, and here we have the date, again atomic, and go specific to the date, that is the atom for creating the date. In this example, we can show very quickly that we have December 13 or October 11, but if we move to Portuguese, we have 13 de Diciembre or 11 de October. Okay, for every locale, I have different formats and different.
And that's really important to remember, right? When you're localizing, it's not just translating. That's why it's called localization versus translation, right? Because you're literally localizing to the formats of the region and so on and so forth. So
Of course.
the date
For
is a
example,
perfect example. Yeah.
this is the normal for Portugal, but if we move to Spanish, we have not we have the de, and is lowercase, and if we go into Italy, they don't have they only make it right away. Okay,
Got it. Yep.
and this is the example that we are creating like right here. Basically, we are picking the locale and make it a really simple switch for, okay, if it's PT, show this format, and this is the month, and write it in Portuguese, and then in Spanish, Italy, on default is the English way. This is a little bit tricky sometimes. It's really important, and brings the user the feeling that, okay, this site is made for me. It's not an English version of the site. This is my site. Okay, they really appreciate these kind of little things. Okay, and coming back, we have the posts. Okay, and we have the queries. Let me try to explain if we have any doubts. So we'll try to explain the doubt about the slacks. Okay, here we have the post query. Okay, and it's filtering by locale, and it's bringing the locale that it's going on. This is all the locales we have. It's filtering the specific locale. We are in the page, and then for the post, I bring the Slack, and I bring all the Slack locales and the values, and we make the same for the category. We bring the Slack, and we bring all the Slack values. Okay, this is important to create this structure, the category and the post. Here in the paths, okay, basically we bring in the post, the point is bringing the Slack, and then we have, okay, give me the value of the Slack for the post, and then in the category, give me all the Slacks, and then filter the category with the locale specific that is related to the post. Okay, and then they create the values for this and this that creates this and this. I can show you. Let me show you. I make an example here in the API Explorer. Okay. I lost my last query. Looks like. Okay. Then we can recreate a little bit. All posts. Okay. Remember, we are picking. Let me take the title, and we are picking all the Slack locales value. And for the category, we are bringing the name of the category, the Slack, but at the same time, all this. Okay. And we have the title of the post, all the Slacks for this post, the title of the category, and all the Slacks for this category in every language. Then what we are doing is in locale, in post, filtering by language, and then we have the title in Portuguese, and for the Slack itself, to say, okay, you have to pick this Slack. Okay, we are making exactly like this, and in the same for the category. And then basically we're saying, okay, with all the options you have, pick only the locale it's Portuguese, that is the same on the post, is the same like this. And for that little trick, we are choosing a specific Slack for the post and a specific Slack for the category, and it match. Make sense? If you have any questions about this, is the more tricky part to create all the Slacks, because pulling the data is not so difficult. It's only have to filter in the Slack. Okay, this information is all the content that is coming directly from DatoCMS. Okay, but in all blogs, on all posts, you have different content like this alert, or like, let me show this text or this text. This type of content not makes sense to bring from DatoCMS, because it's more or less static. It's not related to the content itself. It's related to the front end. Then it's not make sense to have stored in DatoCMS. For that, we create a specific library. In that case, is internalization.js, and then we define different variables. For the alert, we have draft content, publish content, click, CTA, exit, and whatever, and we define every language. Okay, and all these variables are static, and we use it in when we make it deploy. And for example, I can show you this content, what is using. We go again to the atomic design, go to the alert, and we say, okay, import the internalization library, and then give me the text, okay, the text from the alert, draft content that match my local. And then let me open this and open this. Okay, and it's that content that creates this kind of text. Okay, this is really important to use a batch of content. Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to, you could put this in DatoCMS as a single entry, so that way the authors can manage this, right? If you want to allow the authors to do that.
Yeah, but sometimes, for example, we use a lot in buttons like read more or click here or whatever. It is not makes a lot of sense to have it in DatoCMS. Then we can create it here. But of course, you can always create a separate content page, content type for translation, or in configuration itself, you can define
like a global or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then define the translation and use it. Yeah, but I want to show that the two different ways to translate something.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. The only reason I say that is because it really, the question is, who's going to control that content? If you need marketing to control that content, then you want to put it in DatoCMS so they can control it. If it's only created once and never touched again, then you can just do it through the developers, right?
Yeah, of course. For example, this kind of alert could be more in DatoCMS, but for example, this read more could be
right.
Yeah, obviously depends a lot in the option, but it's important to know that you have the two options, and then if you don't want to make it in DatoCMS everything, normally we make about 95% or 98% in DatoCMS, and then only specific things for because we are going to in agnostic point of view about the content. Then the front end defines whatever we need it, and is read to the front end that is in the front end, but it's about the content itself is in DatoCMS.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay. One more thing that I want to talk about you guys is that the same thing that we have with the content, with the translation multilingual, is important for the media. Okay, all the media in DatoCMS have the option to define titles and alternative text in every language. Okay, you can switch to every language, then say, okay, this is for Porta, then save. Okay, and then when you are pulling the information from the front end, you can use it for every language. And the focus point, you can do it by language too. You can say, okay, from Portuguese is this important, and for English is that moment. Okay, for this example, for the image of the door is not make sense, but imagine that we are showing different products for in the same picture for different languages, or we have, I don't know, a diversity group of people, and from one market I want to show more the American or the Nordics or whatever. We can use this kind of things to trick.
One thing to keep in mind here, what I usually like to do is create a wrapper around media and not use the media, because, for example, like you mentioned, if you have text in an image, in Spanish, you're going to have the Spanish text. In English, you're going to have burned into the Photoshop file, the English version. So if you build a wrapper, let's say, of just that one image, you can localize that image in that wrapper, that one entry, and just link to that one entry, but then automatically pull the correct version of the image you want, depending on the localization, right? Where here, like you said, you can do the metadata and the focus point, but you can't really localize. Like, you can't have 4 images here.
No.
You can only have one.
Yeah, your point is really important and makes sense, because otherwise we can, for example, here we can have to make this
Localize and have 4
localized and
linked
then
there.
change every time.
Right.
Yeah, with the wrapper, we can do the same way that we have the authors, that
Right.
if you need it, you can make more languages. If you don't need it, you can make it only once, for example.
Right.
Imagine that.
And you just manage that one entry only.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's more flexible. And then if we have to change the image for the product, you can go to the content type itself, change once, and replicate everything. It's again the atomic design approach. Makes sense.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah. Really important about that. For a large website, I 100% recommend it. This approach, the image wrapper, because you are reusing a lot of content in different areas. Okay. More questions if you want, because
we have one more question, which is why, this is on the code side, why is there another category.js file in the pages file structure next to category folder?
This is the page of the categories. Okay.
And the folder is the slug?
Yeah, if I visit this page, I am visiting the category JS file, okay? And then I can pull here, I don't know, all the articles related to this category or whatever, or a description like we have, and that's it. This is why we have the category JS. And then if you go to the posts, you were going category, this category.
And then the page.
And then the page itself.
Okay. So that's for the actual entry.
Yeah.
To show in the slug. The other one is the actual category page.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then you can do the same for the author. We can create another page for the author. It will be author with different translation.
Or if you had a tag instead of a category.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
it's only an example for that. It's going that way. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
But again, the important is that we localize that, and it's not family travel. Okay, because normally if you don't do that, it's family travel from Italy. And this doesn't make sense. Okay, this is make error.
Right, which is true. Yeah,
Yeah.
For SEO.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and we can make the same for the authors, and again, and we have the same really quickly, but basically we are making the same for the internal part. It's important. One of them is the language of the document itself. That is in Italy, because the SEO is important to say, okay, this document is Italian, and then we have all the SEO metadata.
The metadata,
translated.
open
Yeah.
graph data is all localized.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, and you say that's Italy and so on. That little things helps a lot to the performance and the core web vitals to move forward and to make difference from your competitors or your colleagues or whatever.
Right.
Okay. And I don't know, basically it's more or less the same. It's really quick approach. If we can go more deeper if you want, but I think for now
I think
it's
we're at
good.
time, but this is a very good introduction, both from the DatoCMS side and the Next.js side, of how to mix both localization on the code side and on the content modeling side.
Yeah, we have some tricky parts sometimes, and that we have to always face different challenges. But yeah, basically the idea is, okay, filter the query based on the locale, and then change the different links. We have some section. Let me show you. This is the basic one for translation. Okay, this is the language bar. That is this language bar. Okay, that we are changing the locale and maintaining the path, so on. But we can do it more. I don't know. We can make it evolve more, because, for example, these labels are always in English, and if we can make it localized in every
Right. When
language,
you switch, it would say Espanol instead of
exactly.
Spanish. Right.
Because, for example, I don't know, if you are an Italian, if I have to put this in English and this in Espanol and this in Portuguese, yeah, this kind of tricks is always good to think about in the user perspective, and try to localize as much as possible to be more natural.
Right,
Okay.
right. Question for you about other languages such as Japanese or Chinese or Arabic, or Hebrew, where you're using a complete different format for the page. And we don't have to go in deep in here, but right now you have one template, right, that displays everything in every language. But if you go Japanese, right, it'll be a completely different format. Any tips or tricks that you recommend that people look at that when they're thinking about that? Because you're going to have to create a different template for that, I would assume.
You have, it's not easy. It's no day by day work, but I have some experience about that in Russian and Chinese,
Right.
and so on, and it's really hard because normally you don't understand what you are doing. But one of main things is, for example, the logic about right to left, left to right. Okay, because looks in the first time, okay, it's easy. It's only to make a mirror, but it's not only to make a mirror. You
Right.
have to be really concentrated. We are changing to, I don't know, to Russian. You have to put, or to Arabic. You have to put from here to here. It's not only changing the order of this. You have to change the order, all the layout, because they are
Right.
reading from here to
Images, everything.
everything. And yeah, it's easy to make a mistake to in localize when you are trying to work in other more difficult languages, like for the
Right.
Western Europe people. But again, in Japanese, in some moments you have to write vertically and not horizontally. Again, you have to change all the layout. And in DatoCMS, you can set up, like we talk about, in the languages, but then you have to
That's
manage
the easy part.
yeah, exactly. That's the easy part.
Right.
Then you can write it, okay, but you have to transform everything and say, okay, if is all these locales make this way and use this template, but if it's
Exactly.
this other locale, use this other template and do it left to right, and you have to be aware of a lot of things. For example,
Yep.
not all the fonts are available in all the languages, and then you switch to Thai, and then this font don't have any Thai characters. Then you have to choose specific font for this other language,
Right.
and yeah, you have to trick a lot in the UI part.
Yep.
But yeah,
Makes sense.
I really recommend, if you have this kind of challenge, have a native colleague, something like that, a friend or whatever
Right.
from Russian or from Japan, and say, please help me to understand what they are doing, because the technical is one way, the visual is another way.
Right, right, exactly. And also understanding the culture, because then there's the actual wording that you may have to change as well, right? Slang could be different for different cultures, different locales. It's very complicated. So at the end of the day, what I recommend is hire a professional that
Yeah,
focuses on localization. If you truly have a global presence, you want to make sure you don't make mistakes.
yeah, and like you and me, that you are from Argentina, I am from here in Portugal, but I'm from Spain, from Spanish in Spain, you are Spanish in Argentina, then we have Portuguese from Portugal,
Exactly.
Portugal for Portuguese from Brazilian, and when you are in the marketing part, the people has to feel that, okay, it's for me. And for example, it's really a huge battle between Portugal from Brazil and Portugal from Portugal, Portuguese from Portugal, and yeah, you have to be really really clear. And if you can hire some translation people for every language, do that.
Right, and you want to make sure you use the correct words. Like a perfect example, many years ago when I was a kid in Argentina, the car Chevy Nova,
Yeah,
in English it's fine. You brought it to Argentina and it says Chevy Nova. It doesn't work.
yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So it's a marketing blunder, right? Chevy, oh, you have the Chevy that doesn't work kind of thing. So, I mean, it's a silly example, but it's a true example of why you really need to understand localization really well, not just from the setting up, the technical aspect of it, but also the marketing, the wording, everything.
Yeah, everything. For example, the marketing and the products, we have products in Portugal with different names, but easy way that, for example, is the bus. Okay, the bus, or the here is the autocarro, but in Brazil it's omnibus, and it's the same thing. Okay,
Right,
and
exactly.
and,
In
and the
Argentina es colectivo.
colectivo, yeah, and in Spanish autobus, and in Mexican is not remember, but it's another word. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So that's an important thing. Well, Rodrigo, we're at time. Thank you so
yeah.
much
Thank you.
for doing this presentation. This was fantastic. Again, not only you did this, but you've got the other one where you talked about the atomic design. Go check that one out. It's the focus on DatoCMS course. So just get your free account at headlesscreator.com and then enroll on that course, 100% free, and you'll have access to all of that. Also, you'll get to see the enabling and localizing content in DatoCMS, the one that I did, that I go really deep into the content model and stuff like that. So I think between all of those, they're going to get a really good overview of how to do this from
Yeah,
scratch, basically.
I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. Rodrigo, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do
Yeah,
that?
I always you can find me in internet like R Barona at and Twitter and Facebook or LinkedIn, whatever you want. It's always the same. And reach me in Twitter. I think is the easy one, or LinkedIn. And yeah, I'm really happy to help and to work with the community.
Rodrigo, you have a lot of fans already. They're saying you're the best, man. I agree. I have to
Great.
agree with you, Allison, 100%.
I'm really happy about that.
Okay, Rodrigo, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And to the rest of you, thank you so much for being here today. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, sign up to headlesscreator.com, get your free account. For those of you that already did, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We've got 2 lessons. Yes, 2 more lessons, I believe. Actually, no, 3 more lessons coming up on the focus on DatoCMS before the end of the year, which is crazy to think about. So thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers, everybody.